Okay, we are live. Um, and I forgot to change my background. Sorry about that. Here, let me do that real quick, actually. I can do that. How do I do this again? Okay, I right click and what the hell was it? I go filter? Yes, filters. Edit filters. Okay. And then, add filter. And it's color, no. Yes, chroma key. Okay. I actually figured it out just as the live stream was starting. That is amazing. Okay. Um, I don't think I really need to go into the settings there. All right, and what the hell was it cut up there? Okay, there we go. All right. You read the title. Today, we're gonna be ranking all the MCU movies on the tier list. I actually have not found the tier list yet. I'm gonna be completely honest. So let's actually find that real quick. This website that is kind of frozen for some reason. Like I cannot move. There we go. Or I'm not doing that today. Here we are. Okay. Let's see. Should be fairly easy to find one. Like there's a lot of these. Okay. I heard there's 37 films. I guess no. I guess this includes the TV shows, right? Oh yeah, it does. Okay. All right. I actually really like this tier list. I don't like the website. That's a lot of ads. Here, presentation mode and back up a little bit. Okay. Ooh, there we go. I think we got no, no, we don't. There's no Fantastic Four here. This this is some bullshit. Where? Yeah, but I feel like some people update their lists right when the new film comes out. Okay, here it is. All MCU films and all MCU related films. Nope, it was last modified 2021, so of course. All MCU movies and shows. Okay, I'm gonna just keep trying until I find one that actually has all the films and shows, which is not this. And it looked like it may be this, but it's not this. It has a lot of Netflix shows. Okay, MCU 2025. There we go. I misspelled 2025. That's my actually that's all my bad. Here, MCU 2025. Okay, okay. Seriously, it should not be this hard. This should be like top of the suggestions. Last modified 2022. Oh, maybe I could like recent. Okay, there we go. Finally, that took too long. Okay, here we are. So, sorry about that. Yeah, this has too much. What the hell? Why are they including the X-Men movies? I've never seen any of the Netflix shows. Okay, there's gotta be a better one than this, right? Oh, actually, I think it's this one, right? Is yes. Okay, here we go. But these are all the movies. Do I want to talk about the shows? I'm sorry, this is taking a while. Nah, I don't really want to talk about it. I guess I could. It would take a lot longer though, and this looks a lot more neat. It's all in like the order that it was released. That's kind of like how I want to do this. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's do that. And I really don't care about this. I do not need a E tier. That's just goddamn stupid. All right, here we go. I haven't seen because I haven't seen all of these. All right, once I make like my actual full video where not a live stream, but my full video ranking these films, then I promise you I would see all of them. But as of right now, I have not seen all of these films. Just thought I should mention that. Okay. I really wish there wasn't an ad here. That is annoying. Oh, once I go into presentation mode, it fixes itself. Yeah, here. That's better. And let's crop out the top here. There we go. Okay. I'm sorry, that took way too long. My espresso and my breakfast over here is getting cold, so I'm gonna eat this while I talk about whatever film I'm talking about first. Alright. So we got S, A, B, C, D, and F tier. Honestly, I did not think any MCU film was a masterpiece. I wouldn't give any of them 10 out of 10. Maybe Loki season 2, but these are just talking about the movies. Um, oh, S tier doesn't really mean like overall it's a S tier movie, just that like compared to the rest of the films in this franchise, it's an. I don't know why I'm playing this. This is actually pretty self-explanatory. Um, okay, Iron Man. I say Iron Man like they do in that Black Sabbath song. I am Iron Man or whatever. I don't know. That's just stuck in my head. Anyways, I really like the first Iron Man. It definitely sets up the tone of the rest of this franchise really well, and you can kind of see why it replicates that humor. Robert Downey Jr. is incredible in it. He's really good. Really funny. Is able. Is one of those characters that the MCU has been doing a lot now, where you kind of have like a jerk who's also like kind of learns not to be a jerk. You see that with Doctor Strange. Um, but he's really good at playing that character. Making him kind of a jerk, but not to the point where he's not unlikable. He's still likable. So um, you're gonna see this a lot in this ranking, but I really like Iron Man as a character, not only in his development, but just like at how he fights. I really like Iron Man action scenes, his powers, just like his ability to like change his suit and stuff. Like I really like the concept of this character. Having this iron suit that could like do a lot of stuff. So out of all these characters, this is the one you can have the most fun watching. Um, what's the name of that guy? Jeff Bridges, I think. Whoever plays the villain in this is really good. He's not like a complex villain, but he's really good at being threatening. He's really good. The actor who plays him is Jeff Bridges, yeah, because he also was in The Big Lebowski. So Big Lebowski is also pretty good, by the way. Um, but yeah, a lot of this film is about his character development, how he turns into this really bad weapons dealer into a good guy. I think that's done really well. I like origin stories. This has a really good origin story. Um, a great film to start off with. So yeah, I might actually go A tier. I really like this film. It's not great per se, but like definitely one of the better ones. The Incredible Hulk. I tried seeing this film. All right, I remember a few months ago I was in a hotel room. It was playing on cable. And I watched the first 20 minutes. It looked fine. I did like how they actually use real sets. It looks a lot dirtier than most MCU films. Edward Norton, I think his name is. I mean, he seemed to be doing a good job playing the character, but I didn't finish it. It just didn't really interest me that much, and honestly, I got kind of spoiled where the rest of the movie goes. So I don't know. I'm I'm gonna try rewatch this. I'm gonna try to finish it, but I haven't seen it. But from what I'm seeing, it's like C tier. I think nothing that incredible, so I'm not really in a rush to watch it. And then we got Iron Man 2, which in my opinion is like the first bad MCU film so far. Really messy. Um, they have like a lot of characters and plot lines going around. So from what I remember, Iron Man, or what's his name, Tony, he gives his company to his wife, Gwyneth Paltrow, Pepper Potts. So he gives his company. That's one of the plot lines. There's also Whiplash, played by this other actor that I forgot the name of because I didn't prepare for this ranking. And also you got this other CEO guy who's trying to take him down. There's just so much stuff happening, and it kind of like goes into his alcoholism and him being drunk. That as a plot line. There's just so much stuff happening, and none of it is really explored that well. I don't think they really they should have focused it more on like two or three plot lines. Like compared to the first Iron Man, very focused story about this guy who just becomes a weapons dealer to superhero, and there's this guy who he works with who doesn't like that, so he tries to fight him. It's a very simple, straightforward story, but it's a very effective story. This is not straightforward. It's trying to do a lot of different things, and it's not terrible. It does introduce some new characters, like this is Don Cheadle's first film. I think he does a better job as whichever character he's supposed to play than the guy who played him in the first film. Also introduces Black Widow. So I wouldn't say it's a terrible film, but it's very messy and honestly not that funny. Like it tries to replicate the first film's humor, but I don't think it's as charming as the first film, or the humor really lands like the first film did. We got our first comment from I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing this. Arjun Vadakut. Sorry, that was really bad. I actually tried to pronounce it right, and it just didn't come out that well. Put Eternals at F. We're getting there. All right, you'll see. I actually don't know if I'm gonna put Eternals in F because I actually don't hate that movie as much as other people do. There's some stuff I like about it, especially compared to like Quantum Mania. I hate that film a lot more. So once we get there, I'll figure out. It's either D tier or F tier. All right, I'll just say that. Uh, oh wow, sorry you had to hear that. Anyways, Iron Man 2, not one of the worst films, but for a while it was one of my least favorite films. I'm gonna go D tier, very messy, but also not terrible. Fortnite is S tier. You are F tier. Wow, did you hear that? That was amazing. You just got folded. All right, that was like a S tier insult. You are F tier. I'm sleep deprived. Sorry. Anyways, Thor. It's fine. Um, I do think it's kind of overlooked. Like, not a lot of people talk about it. In some ways, it's underrated. Like, I like the way Kenneth Branagh, I think his name, directs it. He's always been like a very good visual director. He doesn't make great movies. Like Murder on the Orient Express is kind of mediocre. I think actually, I think the only film I enjoyed for Kenneth Branagh is the film that came out like a couple years ago, Haunting of Venice. David, I saw that. Okay, I didn't read it, but I know you just deleted a comment. I did not know what you just said. I'm a trust that wasn't something terrible. Anyways, Thor. It's kind of like a fish out of water comedy. Where like Thor loses his powers, goes into Earth, tries to get with he's not familiar with the setting. That type of comedy. Like take someone out of their element, put it somewhere else, make some good comedy, and that way it's kind of fun. Like that scene where like Thor like crashes the glass, and says another. That shit's really funny. But that said, though, I don't think Thor is an interesting character. Like, out of all the characters introduced in Phase 1, he's definitely the least interesting. He's supposed to be this very cocky god. In the beginning, he's supposed to be very cocky, so later he becomes humble and a little bit more stoic. But he doesn't come off cocky at all. Like, he starts the film very stoic, which I don't know if it's because of how Chris Hemsworth portrayed him. Maybe he just didn't get into the character. or maybe it's just because he wasn't given that much in the script. But he's really not that interesting of a character. You know, they try to make him cocky, but he just doesn't come off that way. Um, Tom Hiddleston as the other hand is Loki. Very fun. I think the most interesting part of Thor, at least in the first two phases, is his relationship with his brother Loki, because Loki is such a more interesting character. He's really good in this, and yeah, Anthony Hawkins is fine, I guess. None of the action stands out. There's no like big scenes I remember from this film. It's kind of forgettable, but overall, it's not that bad. It's fun. Anyways, we got some comments here. Do you know the mid-credit scene of the new Fantastic Four movie? Can you tell what the post-credit scene was about? Are you saying you haven't yeah, you haven't like seen the post-credit scene, or like you're asking if I've seen it? Because I've seen it. I just don't want to spoil it for you, so tell me if you've seen it. But yeah, the post-credit scene's pretty good. I actually think Thunderbolts had a better one, but yeah, seeing you know who for first time, that was pretty cool. I'm half awake trying to type right now. I don't know why I just did that. That was weird. Anyways, Thor, I'm gonna go C tier. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about Iron Man 2 and Thor being right next to each other. I guess it's fine. It's fine. It's a whole other tier. Okay, I have seen the one. It was Doctor Doom appears, but there's one after it came to. I gotta be honest. I did not stay to watch that. For a while now, I've just been watching the mid credits. I don't like wait till the end of the credits because usually at the end of the movie, I need to take a piss. All right, I drink a lot of Dr. Pepper in that theater. Okay, I'm not gonna wait for a 3 minute scene that I could just look up on YouTube 3 months later. All right, I am a human. I have human bodily functions. All right, I don't need people judging me when I leave the theater to go take a piss before the post credit scene. All right. Like, I wish I could stay, but I can't. So no, I did not see the end. Anyways, Captain America: The First Avenger. I actually really enjoy this one. I think it's kind of underrated. I think I may actually like this more than the Winter Soldier. I've never been a big Winter Soldier guy. I know that people like it because it's very serious and very not a lot of plot holes, but I just really love the style of this more. Like the way I forgot it's from the same guy who directed Rocket Man. No, it's not. Jetpack Man. What the hell was that movie called? It was okay, first of all, Captain America, the First Avenger. Okay, who directed it? I forgot his name. Joe Johnson. Joe Johnson is a guy who the Rocketeer. Rocket Man. No, the Rocket. He also directed Jurassic Park 3. Yeah. Okay, he directed Jumanji and the Rocketeer, and I really like his style of directing. Like, because if you don't know, The Rocketeer takes place in the 1940s. This takes place in 1940s. He's just really good at directing that time period. Like, I really love the setting of 1940s New York, World War II. I just really like that. It's so different from the rest of the MCU. Just seeing that time and the way he directs it, there's some campiness to it, but it's also really fun. I also love seeing his origin story. Like the first half of this movie is amazing. Okay, just seeing like Steve Rogers go from the scrawny kid to being buff, and seeing him like navigate as this guy who's kind of a superhero, kind of like a propaganda piece, but he wants to be part of the war. All that shit was interesting. I think ironically, when Red Skull gets introduced, that's when I kind of lose interest. Like the first half is like A tier, but the rest is like B tier because Red Skull isn't that interesting in villain. I mean, he's fine. I like the actor who portrays him. He plays Mr. Smith in The Matrix. I forgot his name. I've been forgetting a lot of actors' names this video. I'm very sorry about that. Um, but yeah, I like the actor. I just don't think the character is that interesting, and there's like so much with Red Skull as a character in this film, and I just don't find his character interesting. So the second half of this movie, I'm not a big fan of, but the first half, I really like. So oh, nobody clipped that. No, nobody clipped that. Nobody. That never happened. Anyways, B tier. Uh, Bro, my favorite Marvel movies are Avengers Endgame, Infinity War, Loki Season 2, Deadpool, and Wolverine. Do you agree? You'll see later in this list. I think I may have a couple other ones I put above that. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. You don't like that more than Deadpool and Wolverine? I'd say they're about the same. Either way, I don't want to spoil too much of my list going in, but Loki season 2, because TV shows are not a part of this tier list. I really love Loki season 2. That was actually like an amazing show, and season 2 was really good. Yeah, season 2 is better than season 1. I really love how Loki used real sets. Um, I heard there was no reshoots for that film because the directors were just like so confident in their vision and what they wanted to film. And you could definitely tell it was a very strong show, if you know. And Owen Wilson, he was really good in that. I like Owen Wilson. Anyways, the Avengers. I wouldn't say I love this because it has a lot of the MCU humor that I honestly kind of grown stiff on. Like if I was to rewatch this today, like I used to find it funny, but if I was to rewatch this today, I probably wouldn't. A lot of the humor wouldn't land for me because I just seen so many of these lines, so many of these cliches done before with the humor, and I don't know. Either way, though, it's a pretty good film. You gotta like put it in the mindset of 2012. You have all these different characters with different type of styles. Like you have Iron Man as cocky billionaire, Steve Rogers as this 1940s war hero, and then you got Thor who's like as Guardian, kind of like a space soap opera with his film. These are like very different characters, and to put them together is like a really, really. Oh, and Hulk. I forgot about that, but it's because he's recast in this film. I didn't really consider the Incredible Hulk. Anyways, these are very different characters, and to put them together in one film seems like a really bad idea. But Joss Whedon does a really good job combining all these different characters, all these different styles and tones, and meshing them together and making something new out of it. The dynamic between this team is really fun, really interesting to watch. This is a very entertaining movie. Like, I wouldn't say it's the most rewatchable. I haven't rewatched it in a while, but definitely like very entertaining, very fast paced, going from scene to scene. It really is a fun film, a very good blockbuster. Um, I do need to rewatch it. I'll be honest, I don't have that much to say about it because I haven't rewatched it in a while, but overall, it seems like a fun film. From what I remember, I do think Loki is kind of defeated pretty easily. Like, I get like he's the first like villain of these Avengers films, but even him and Ultron, I think, were just like kind of too easy to beat. Like, it just kind of sucked out a little of the attention. Either way, it's a fun film. I'm gonna go B tier though. This may be okay. I'll put it above the first Avenger, but I don't know. I'll go B tier. I wouldn't say it's exactly as good as Iron Man or in A tier. So that's phase one. I have not seen the Incredible Hulk, but I feel like it would go in C tier if I finished it. Iron Man 2 in D tier, Thor in C tier, the Avengers and Captain America First Avenger in B tier, and then Iron Man A tier. We don't have anything in S tier yet. I don't think there's anything incredible of this phase. Overall, it's a solid phase. Actually, pretty underrated. I like the feeling, the tone that this phase gives off. Do you think just like they made Zack Snyder's Justice League, they can make an alternative version of Avengers One, the movie? I don't know. I don't think so. Because the reason Zack Snyder's Justice League is a thing is because Zack Snyder had this whole different vision. There's so many scenes that he filmed that didn't make it to the final cut, and because of studio battling and Joss Whedon just being a bad choice to replace him, and also kind of a bad director at that point as well, it just made for a very messy film that's not at all like his vision. Like he shot so many scenes that were not used, so when it came time to release his cut, he only needed to do like a little bit of reshoots because he already filmed a lot of the scenes he wanted to, and just bring that all together, make it black and white. Like it's such a different film because he just like had a whole different vision. Whereas for the Avengers, what there's no Zack Snyder with the Avengers. All right, Joss Whedon is the one who made the Avengers, and he's the one who had the final cut. All right, so yeah, there's no like director's cut in it because that was Joss Whedon's idea. I do know there were like early scripts of the Avengers at like the Watson or like Red Skull as a villain, but those were never filmed. All right, they had like a pretty finished script when they went in, so like there's not really like any room for like a director's cut or recut or anything like that. Because that's it. That was like the director's vision. So I don't think so. Definitely maybe Age of Ultron because I know Joss Whedon had very different ideas for Age of Ultron that didn't get cut or didn't get made. But knowing where Joss Whedon's career is now, kind of like not that popular right now, I don't think that's ever gonna happen. Um, Iron Man 3. Okay, one second. I'm really hungry. Mmm. My mom is such a good cook. Like this is really good pasta. What's that? Sorry, I'm a fat ass. Anyways, Iron Man 3. I really like this one. All right. I'm not really familiar with Shane Black as a director. Let me see. I know he's a very big action director, so he was a good choice for this film. Let me see. The Predator. Okay, that film wasn't that good. I heard good things about The Nice Guys. I heard good things with Kiss Kiss Bing Bang. Did he actually? No, he didn't. No, he didn't. No, he did not direct Predator 1987. Why is that on his movie? Why is that on his list? What the hell? Okay, he did not direct this either. No, he didn't. That was Richard Donner. I know this. Okay. Um, this is why you don't go to Google to look at a director's filmography. It's a bunch of bullshit. I don't know why I switched this up. Anyways. Anyways, not this one. Anyways, Shane Black was a really good director for Iron Man 3 because he's so good with action. Alright, he's already action director, but like the action in this film was really good. At this point in the MCU, we didn't get that many great action scenes, I don't think. No, 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 no. Alright, all these scenes maybe the Incredible Hulk. I heard the Incredible Hulk had good action scenes, but nothing like really great action. It's all like power beam, portal, power beam, shit like that, you know. Iron Man 3 had like really interesting action. I already said this before, but I like the way Iron Man fights. I like his powers, how his like suit can like turn into stuff. He's definitely like my favorite superhero when it comes to like the way he fights. And Shane Black was really good at conveying that. There's some great action scenes in here. I really like the tone of this movie. It's very funny. Really shows out Robert Downey Jr.'s comedic chops. Definitely the most interesting stuff they did with Iron Man as a character minus the first film in Civil War. Um, I really enjoyed this one, and unlike other people, okay, about time you hear this, I'm not a comic reader. I do not care for comics. I'm not a big comic book guy. I only watch comic book movies because I'm a movie guy. I've been wearing a Boys in the Hood T-shirt because that's a movie, not a comic book. I'm not a comic book guy. I'm a big ass nerd, but not for comic books. So I did not know about the Mandarin going in. I did not even care about the Mandarin. And technically, Shang-Chi had the Mandarin. So either way, even though they lied about the Mandarin being in this film, we still got the Mandarin later on. So I actually didn't care about the plot twist, alright? I didn't care that the Mandarin wasn't actually in this because again, I don't read comics. I'm not, like, invested in that. And that's another thing. Like, especially when Black Widow comes, like sometimes you have a character that's adapted very poorly and people tell you about it. I usually don't care about this stuff because I don't read comic books. So like whatever they show in the movie is what I associate with the character. So just thought I'd clear that up. Anyways, that's why I didn't really have a problem with the Mandarin twist. And Guy Pearce did a really good job playing the villain in this movie. I think it was Guy Pearce. Yeah, he had great screen presence. He was very campy in the role. I had a lot of fun with him as a villain. So yeah, I'm fine with the Mandarin twist, and the rest of the film was pretty good too. So that airplane scene where it's like saving all the passengers from dropping out of the airplane, that was really good. That was a really good scene. So shit. I'm gonna go top a beat here. I wouldn't say it's as good as the first one. I wouldn't say it's like would I? Would I say that? No, no. Top a B tier. That seems right. Okay. Thor the Dark World. This movie is boring. This is like the most mediocre, most middle of the road, most boring, most bland film this franchise has ever made. Even even with Eternals, even with all the films they released after that, they made worse films. But after all of these films, it's still like the most forgettable, the most bland. There's literally like nothing to it except Tom Hiddleston, who once again is pretty good as a villain. But like what's his name? Chris Hemsworth. Listen, I love how he plays Thor in the Avengers and later on in this franchise. I think he's really good at it. But at this point of the franchise, like Thor is such a boring character. Like out of all the six Avengers at this point of the MCU. Like he's the least interesting. He has like no personality traits. It's just weird that 2 minutes in his own, I mean, two movies in his own franchise, he's still just not that great of a character. So, yeah, I mean, just very boring movie. Also has the most boring villain. I think his name's Malekith, and like he's only memorable for being so boring. Like it's almost become a joke, like a meme, how boring he is. He's just like an elf who wants to kill people, and that's it. And this is like a big movie for Thor as a character. Like his mother dies, he thinks his brother dies. Like two characters, two people very important in his life dies. And I just find it hard to care because he's like such a boring character. So, yeah. Um, should I put an F tier? Uh, Ant-Man the Wasp: Quantumania. That's right. That's right. Okay. I need to put that in my mind. But it's such a boring movie. I'm gonna go F tier. There's gonna be two movies in F tier. An A tier, S tier movie. Which one are you talking about? M24 Legend. Are you talking about the Dark World? Because that I heavily disagree with that. S tier, A tier, really? I want to hear your reasoning. So, anyways, I'm sorry. I need to blow my nose. I'll be right back. Right back. All right, told you I'd be back. Sorry about that. I guess I'm sick or something. Anyways, next up, see Winter Soldier, and my take on this is gonna make some people mad because I know some people really love this film for some reason. I could definitely see why. Okay, so far this has the best action in the MCU. That knife fight with the Winter Soldier, you just see like the knife jumping up and down. He like throws it up and throws it down and stabs it. I can't explain it. It's like so like fast paced, really good hand to hand combat that you just don't see in the MCU. I don't understand this. Why does every action scene in the MCU, why can't it just be that? Why can't it just be like some John Wick shit, you know? You have the money, make some John Wick shit, you know? I want to see some John Wick shit in the MCU. Anyways, yeah, the Winter Soldier has really good action. I do like the spy espionage. Like, I think it does it so much better than Brave New World or Black Widow or all these other spy espionage films in the MCU. I really like, I do think it's a little bit slow, but I do like the pace of this movie, very slow, methodical pace, like going through like this whole mystery. Um, I'll just say this now though, I don't think there's anything that amazing about it aside from the action. I do like how it kind of builds on Captain America's character because in the first film and the Avengers, he's kind of like ironically a very one-note character. Like I mean, I like his development in the first film. I do like him as a character at this point, but he doesn't have like a lot of strong development. He's just kind of like it's kind of like Superman in a way, you know. Not to like throw shade in Superman, but just a very like goody two shoes type of guy. In this film, you kind of see him like kind of question the government that he fights for, kind of question who he's fighting for. See that the world isn't black and white. That there's people on his side who want to like kill people. You kind of see him kind of become more cynical in this movie. I really like that. I really like what they did with his character here. I just don't think it's amazing. All right, I'll just say this right now. I will put it in A tier, but it's definitely not S tier. I don't think it's like the great movie that everyone talks about. I'll put it right below Iron Man. Then we got Guardians of the Galaxy. I actually have not seen this movie in quite a while. I should really rewatch it. Anyways, very fun film. I don't like what it did to the MCU. Like after this, every film was just like a very jokey one-liner type of film with a lot of quips and stuff. Like really look at this. Like Ant-Man had a lot of quips, Civil War had a lot of quips. Of course, there was a sequel, and then Homecoming had a lot of quips, which I guess like kind of fit the tone. Then Thor Ragnarok just turned into a full blown comedy, and I don't know how many people remember this, but Black Panther has a lot of like that type of comedic moments. It really did change the sense of humor in the MCU going forward. Guardians of the Galaxy. I guess the Avengers kind of did that too. Either way, though, it's still really funny. James Gunn is a really funny guy. Like every film I've seen from him, you're at least laughing like three times. He's really good at making like these very funny characters, but still making very emotional stories. Like Peter is a very interesting character, knowing his backstory, knowing that his mother died, and seeing how they build on that character in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. You also have Gamora, who's like the daughter of the big bad of this franchise, and you kind of have an interesting character there. Obviously, you have Rocket, who serves as kind of a comedic relief in this film, but also you kind of see that he's also a tragic character. Drax is a comedic relief, but he also serves as a tragic character. A lot of these characters are you're able to have fun with, but you do realize that they have like backstories and like very tragic backstories that they explore a little bit, but they just kind of hint at and is built on in the sequels. So I really like what they did there. The group dynamics really good. At this point of the franchise, I honestly like Guardians of the Galaxy and their chemistry over the Avengers, which is like crazy to think about because these were like unknown characters. But James Gunn really did a good job. I loved how the space was visualized, like all the planets and stuff. I wouldn't say it's like amazing, but I do like how different it is from the rest of the MCU. Ronan is kind of a boring villain, but I also think he kind of complements the film because you have like these very unserious, very funny heroes that don't take a lot of things seriously, and then you have Ronan, who's this guy who takes stuff seriously as a very like stoic guy. It's just like it's a very good contrast. I do think it kind of complements the tone the film is going for. Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna put this right above the Winter Soldier again. We're getting a good A-tier lot here. This is a very good run of films with Iron Man 3 to Age of Ultron, which I also think is kind of underrated. I wouldn't say it's perfect. As I hinted to before, I do think Ultron is a little bit underpowered in this. He's kind of like you know, he just like kind of like loses at the end very easily. There isn't a lot of tension at the end because he's like so outnumbered at the end. Like obviously he's gonna like win. I mean he's gonna lose, and the Avengers are gonna win. So, but I do like Ultron as a character. James Spader was the best part of The Office, and he's the best part. I mean, the best part of The Office season 8. And he's the best part of this movie. Really good. One second. I'm still really hungry. I don't know why. Anyways, um, it doesn't really do a lot for these characters. There's not a lot of like character building in this one, as there was in the first one, Infinity War and Endgame. It's just a really good, very entertaining, straight to the point Avengers movie. Ultron's a good villain. Introduces some characters that'll become important later, like Scarlet Witch and Ultron. Yeah, okay, I like it. I'll go not A tier. I'll go right below the first Avenger. One second. Oh man, sorry. Anyways, next up we have Ant Man, which once again, this and Age of Ultron are kind of underrated, especially Ant Man. I just have a lot of fun with this movie. Um, I think it's Paul Rudd at like his funniest. I have not seen his Judd Apatow movie except for Knocked Up. I think he's really good in Knocked Up. I haven't seen 40-Year-Old Virgin, but I do think he's really funny in this film. Um, while also being a good protagonist, I do like Scott as a protagonist. I do like the power of Ant Man. Like out of a lot of these like superheroes. I do like the idea of turning small and the way they visualize the scenes where he's small, like really creative. At the back of my head, every time I watch this movie, at the back of my head, even though I really enjoy it, I do think of what could have been. Because Edgar Wright was supposed if you don't know, Edgar Wright was supposed to make this movie. Edgar Wright is one of my favorite directors of all time. And he had like a really distinct vision for this movie, but Kevin Feige didn't really want that. And a lot of what he was going to do in Ant-Man, he translated to Baby Driver, actually. And Baby Driver is an amazing film, so I just kind of think, what could have been Ant-Man? You know, like Edgar Wright directing. This could have been like a really good film. But as it is right now, as we have the film right now, even though I would rather Edgar Wright direct it, I do think it's fine. Again, I like the action scenes where he's really small, like throwing the toy train at the other guy and he's fighting in the room. Like it's some of the most creative fight scenes at this point of the franchise. I really do enjoy that. I do like the very simple heist like story. Michael Douglas, obviously pretty good in this. Paul Rudd. It's a good cast. What's his name? Michael It is Michael Pena. Luis is a really funny character. One of my favorite comedic reliefs of these films. Luis is really good. I really enjoy this movie. Every time I watch it, I really enjoy it. I'll put it right below the Avengers and right above Captain America: The First Avenger. That seems right. My espresso's getting cold, so I'm gonna try to like finish this in one gulp. Watch this, one gulp. Ugh. Oh. Okay, that was good. That's a good espresso. Anyways, ugh, I got some on my pube chin. I mean, chin. Fuck. Anyways, um, I did not say pube chin. Anyways, Civil War. Okay, this one I really enjoy. It's a very earned conflict that's kind of like built up along like a lot of films. Like ever since the first Avengers film, where like you had that argument between Captain America and Tony, where he says everything special about you came out of a bottle, and that type of argument. It's just been built upon. There are all these films with Age of Ultron too, and this really is like one of the most important films of the Infinity Saga. Like where everything really starts coming together and really start setting up for Infinity War. Because if the Avengers were together during Infinity War, there's a good chance they will have won. They probably, I mean, if Civil War didn't exist, they probably still have Thanos win because as Stanley said, whoever the writers want to win will win. But as is in this franchise, like Thanos definitely could have won if they did not split up in Civil War. So it's definitely a very important movie. Seeing all these heroes fight each other is a lot of fun. The airport fight is a lot of fun. I will say it does get a little bit too quippy at the airport fight. Like a lot of quips, a lot of jokes, kind of like lighthearted. When this really should be a very intense fight, like like these friends fighting each other, friends turn to enemies. It's just kind of like taken as a joke. But I guess it's fine because you have fun with the airport fight, and then at the end where it's Iron Man versus the Winter Soldier and Captain America, that fight is a little bit more serious, a lot less joking because it's a lot like darker. So I guess it kind of complements each other well. Anyways, it's very good drama, very riveting storytelling. I really do enjoy this film. I'll go. Fuck it. I'm gonna put it above Iron Man. Yeah, let's do that. All right, we got our best film of the MCU so far, Civil War. I need to rewatch this film too. It's been a while, but I just know it's really good. Damn, I feel like my brains are gonna come out of my nose. Ow. All right. Anyways, Doctor Strange. Honestly, I don't know how I feel about this movie because every time I watch it, I think it's a pretty good film. Like the origin story for Steven is very interesting. See him come from a very cocky guy, very cocky surgeon, and how his hands like break, and how he kind of like becomes like mad about it, kind of like self-hating, and it's a very sad story. But then you see him become Doctor Strange. Definitely one of the better origin stories in this franchise. Like Doctor Strange's origin, his story of how he becomes Doctor Strange, really good. There's something really great in this movie. Like this film had the chance of greatness, especially with the visuals. Oh my god, the visuals when you like see all the skyscrapers and the buildings like kind of like as this block kind of abstract shapes like that was like so cool, so cool. I Scott Derrickson did a great job with the visuals of this movie. For the most part, it's a very dark film. I don't think the lighting is great. It's a very slow film. It's kind of boring. I'll admit, it's a very slow film, kind of boring. It's not that fun. And besides Strange, I do think the side characters are a little bit less interesting. Like Wong is a good character, but in this film, he was kind of lame. Um, I forgot the name. I think Esteban Moss or something. That other guy that he's friends with in this movie who doesn't come back again. He's very boring. The ancient one is well played, but not that interesting or well written of a character. And especially Mads Mikkelsen, out of every actor in this franchise, except for Bill Skarsgård in the Eternals, every actor in this franchise, there's not one who's wasted more than Mads Mikkelsen. Like you got the guy behind Anton Chigurh and Hannibal, one of the best actors of all time, and then you like put him in this film, and he's just like such a boring one note villain. He's just like so wasted in this movie. And he's not even the main villain. Is Dormammu, and Dormammu is an interesting villain. I do like the way he's defeated with the time loop stuff. But yeah, Mads Mikkelsen, such a boring villain, one of the worst villains of this franchise, played by such a great actor, such a waste of a great actor too. It's very very sad. Um. Anyways, yeah, it's fine. There are hints of greatness with the screenplay, with how Steven becomes Doctor Strange, but as is now is and the visuals, as is now, I actually wouldn't put in B tier. I would put it like top of C tier, I think, which is kind of a shame because again, there's some great stuff in this. I just think overall it doesn't like come together that great. Then we got Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Um I think the main problem with this movie is that there's no like overlying tension in between it. Like we don't know Ego. Well, I knew that Ego was a villain from the beginning because it's like such an obvious twist. But like tension wise, Ego is not a villain until like the last third of the movie. Laserface isn't really that threatening a villain. He's kind of like a joke villain. So there's not a lot of tension for like the first 2/3 of this movie. It's just like fun shenanigans with Guardians of the Galaxy, and then at the end we have this maniacal planet eating murderer at the end who's trying to kill them. And in the last third, everything else not a lot of tension, but all that last third is really good. First of all, Kurt Russell's really good in this film. Like he's a great actor. He's one of the better villains. Ego. That scene where he says, he put a chip or cancer or a tumor. It was a tumor. He put a tumor in Peter's mom's brain. Like such a great scene, especially with how it's shot, where like the background is kind of zooming in on Peter. I don't know what you call that shot, but it's really cool. Definitely like one of the most bone chilling scenes in this franchise. He's definitely a good villain. I just wish he was a villain for a lot longer and they didn't really lean into this plot twist that was so obvious in the beginning and you could tell like from the beginning that it was supposed to be villain. Um Still the last third of this movie is really good. Yondu sacrificing himself for Peter was very sad, one of the saddest death scenes of all these films. Still, though, I wouldn't say it's great. I just say it's pretty good because the first 2/3 again just kind of just fun shenanigans with the Guardians. Not a lot of tension, not a lot of conflict in those first 2/3. So yeah, I'm gonna go bottom of B tier. I want to put it C tier. I want to put it next to Doctor Strange. I just put it bottom B. That seems right. Yeah. Speaking of B tier, we're gonna be seeing a lot of films in B tier, I guess. I'll try to like shake up this list later if too many films are put in one tier. Anyways, sorry. Spider-Man: Homecoming. Whew, I'm getting tired of talking. Anyways, Spider-Man: Homecoming. It's a fun film. I like how they kind of skip Spider-Man's origin. At this point in the franchise, I am excited that he's becoming more like Spider-Man, like Tobey Maguire type of Spider-Man, where he's just in New York fighting. And this In this film, he's a little bit more of like a different version of the character, but at that point it was very fresh and interesting just seeing like a version of Spider-Man where he like knows the Avengers, where he skip his origin. I found that very interesting. I like how it explored his high school life a lot more than the previous films. Like the Amazing Spider-Man kind of focused on his high school life, but this film especially, we see this teenage superhero kind of balance his personal life with superhero stuff. I found that very interesting as well as very fun. There's a lot of like fun side characters like Ned and the bully and Zendaya, even Zendaya is pretty good in this too. There's like a lot of funny scenes. It's definitely one of the funnier MCU films. Very entertaining. Vulture is a really good villain. Michael Keaton does a great job, and the plot twist that he is spoiler alert, but the plot twist that he's what's his name Peter's girlfriend's dad. I forgot what her his girlfriend's name is, so I'll just say Peter's girlfriend's dad. The plot twist that he's like the dad of this girl that Peter likes was really good. Like that was a great scene, one of the better, most shocking plot twists of this film. And also shows that Vulture is a family man who's trying to do this for his family, just like a regular guy. Just a great way to like reveal that. So yeah, I really like this. Definitely a very fun, very entertaining Spider-Man film. I might actually put it. I'm gonna put it above the Iron Man 3. Yeah, I really enjoy this film. It's very fun. I go back to it quite a bit. One of the sorry, one of the better villains in this part of the in this point of the franchise. Then we got Thor Ragnarok. Holy shit, bro! My nose is congested right now. Like there are boogers up the shit. I'm like burping a lot right now. I'm gonna go get some water and more tissue. I'll be right back. All right, I'm sorry about this. I'll be back with more water and more tissue. Or actually, no, I'll get a cactus cooler. I need a cactus cooler. Clear my clogged throat. It does. Sorry, I'm back. All right. I forgot the cactus cooler. 1 second. Okay, now I'm back. I'm not going anywhere unless I need to go to the bathroom later. Which, because I just had lunch right now, is may happen. I don't know. Anyways, Thor Ragnarok. It's a very fun film. It's a very entertaining film. A lot of jokes. Taika Waititi. At this point, by the time this film came out. I really like Taika Waititi. I like his sense of humor. But also, I haven't rewatched this film in a while. I don't think I'm going to, or at least I don't want to rewatch it because I don't think the humor will age that well. Because I'll be honest, at this point, I kind of gotten tired of Taika Waititi's style of humor. Like it's pretty funny at first, but I feel like as it went on, he kept making the same jokes and the same style of deadpan humor. I just kind of got bored of it. So I don't know if I rewatch this, if I would find it as funny as I used to, or as entertaining as I used to. Um, with that said, though, I did really enjoy this when it came out. It's definitely like one of the funnier MCU movies, or at least the one that's most like a comedy. But more importantly, most importantly, I like what it does for Thor's character. Like, before this film came out, at this point of the franchise, Thor is such a boring character. Like, out of the six main Avengers, even when Age of Ultron came out and there were like 12 Avengers, and Age of Ultron, two of the Avengers were introduced in that film, Thor was still one of the least interesting characters in that film because he's just like so personalityless, has no personality, has no characterization other than he's a god who has a hammer and he's very serious and stoic. That's all. That's all to his character. But at this part, not only do they give him personality and they show off Chris Hemsworth comedic chops and comedic timing, which is really good in this film, but they also like add more to his character, add an actual development to his character because you're introduced to Hela, which is like his stepsister, and you see how that kind of affects him. How knowing that his brother is still alive and kind of being mad about that, while also kind of relieved, he kind of build on his relationship with his brother a little bit more, and you kind of build on his relationship with his father, which at this point was actually one of the more interesting parts of his story. Seeing how his father didn't really like him, thought he was a little bit cocky. So in the first film, he takes away his powers, and he's kind of like mad at his father, but still kind of respects him. That was one of the more interesting parts of his story. And this film, they build on it a lot more, where he finds out that his father actually enslaved his stepsister, or kind of made his stepsister into a monster. And then when he turned good, he turned on his stepsister. He kind of has like conflicted feelings about that. He kind of has conflicting feelings about his father and realizes his father isn't as wise or as good of a person as he thought he was. Which is also a very relatable part of this movie when you find out that a family member isn't as perfect as you think you are, or maybe they're not like that great a person. I feel like that's something a lot of people can relate to. And it just like adds so much to his character with Thor realizing that his father's not that good of a person, that he did some terrible stuff, and he tries to fix that himself. They just add so much to his character, and again, they have him humbled. You take away his hammer, so he's not just like that stoic, boring guy with a hammer. He has no hammer. He tries to navigate without it. He learns that there's more to his powers than just a hammer. You see him like make friends, go to this world he's not familiar with. They just make his character so much more interesting in this film. This one film gives him more development than like the five films he showed up beforehand. It just adds so much to his character and makes him like one of my favorite characters in this franchise. Like if you were to ask me in 2016 who my least favorite MCU character is or one of my least favorites, I would say Thor. If you were to ask me today in 2025 who my favorite MCU character is or one of my favorites, I would say Thor. This this movie just built so much on his character that he became one of my least favorites and one of my favorites. So yeah, I really like what they did with this film. Again, I don't think the comedy will age that well, so I don't know if I want to put it in A tier. I'll definitely put it in B tier. I'll put it like top of B tier, right above Iron Man 3. I'll put it right below Homecoming because I do think that's a little bit more rewatchable as a film. But next up, we got Black Panther, which depending on who you ask, is either like one of the best MCU movies or one of the most overrated MCU movies. I could definitely see where both sides are coming from. Like, obviously this film is very rich with its filmmaking, very well written. It kind of like explores racism and all these different issues, but also like introduce us to this new country, Wakanda, and their politics. It kind of learned about Killmonger and his family. Actually, kind of like Ragnarok, where like Thor learns that his father isn't that good of a person. Black Panther, what's his name, T'Challa, kind of learns that his father actually did some bad things too. Holy shit, they're copying each other's movies. Thor Ragnarok and Black Panther, they have the same relationship between the son and the father. I actually never realized that. I just realized that right now. Chat, am I right here? Yeah, that's the same character arc. You see T'Challa learning that his father isn't perfect, that he made mistakes, that he's part of the reason that the villain was created, Killmonger. Same way that Thor's father created Hela. I never realized that. Wow. Okay, I officially graduated. All right, I'm not a movie reviewer now. I'm a film critic. I analyze shit now. Holy shit! I just realized that. Oof. Anyways, fuck. What was I saying? Anyways, it's very interesting story. How many layers they add to T'Challa as a character, and the villain, especially Killmonger, one of the best, maybe the best villain of this franchise. A really good villain with very sympathetic traits and motivation. And what's his name? What's his name? Michael B. Jordan. He's such an incredible actor. Of course, with Sinners and Creed, he's just grown to be one of my favorite actors, and he was really good at this. And again, very good action. I mean, at this point, I still think the Winter Soldier has better action, but like really good hand-to-hand combat in this one. It kind of steals some plot beats from The Lion King, but in a way that feels fresh. So yeah, it's a very interesting, well-made story. But I also understand. I understand that people think it's a little bit overrated because the CGI isn't great. I think Black Panther is like the first MCU movie where you kind of see the CGI getting a little bit spotty, and nowadays that's just kind of like a given with these films, because they just come out in like such. This is like a TV show, so you kind of have to like have the release date at certain times. You kind of have to rush the projects. Now they're doing quality over quantity, so I don't think we're gonna see that much anymore. But like especially here with like Infinity War coming out right after Black Panther, you can see they kind of rush some of the CGI, especially at the end. With that said, though, what do I think personally? Like, do I think it's overrated? Do I think it's one of the best MCU movies? I think it's one of the better MCU movies. It's really, really good. And one thing I think a lot of people overlook with this film is the soundtrack. Like when Wakanda is revealed and it goes na 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 na, I can't do it. I'm not really good at humming music. Anyways, the music when you're introduced to Wakanda and like the theme song and all this shit, like it's such a good soundtrack. I don't know what it was like nominated for at the Oscars, but definitely should have been nominated for best soundtrack because it's a really memorable soundtrack. Wakanda's theme, Black Panther's theme, Killmonger's theme. Whoever did the soundtrack for this movie actually should do it for more MCU movies. He did a really good job. Um, and yeah, Chadwick Boseman, he's a great actor. I don't think he's as great as most people say, but I do really enjoy his portrayal as Black Panther. I do like the world. Wakanda is one of the more interesting settings, especially like compared to Asgard or whatever. um, yeah, Asgard, New York, and any setting in the MCU. I think Wakanda is one of the more interesting ones. How it like kind of takes influences from African culture, is visually a very unique city or not city country. Yeah, holy shit! I'm trying to find the but. I'm trying to find the but, and then my negatives with this film. But I don't have a lot of negatives with this film, other than like the CGI at the end, which even then you can kind of overlook it. Should I put this S tier? I feel like putting this in S tier. Like I was gonna put it in A tier, but like the more I talk about it, the more I realize, holy shit, this is a really good movie that I've been kind of overlooking. I kind of want to rewatch it tonight. I would put it S tier. Yeah, that seems right. And speaking of S tier, we have two great MCU films in a row. Avengers: Infinity War, which is depending on who you ask, is probably the best MCU movie. And I got something to confess to you guys. I actually didn't love this movie for the longest time. I think I always thought Endgame was better because Endgame actually like explores how the characters reacted to the blip, kind of like how they felt with losing, and there's a lot more character work in Endgame. Kind of made the stakes a little bit more interesting because they already lost. They already lost, and with Infinity War, it's just kind of like action scene to action scene, place to place type of adventure movie. Not a lot of stakes, not a lot of character work. So for the longest time, I still think Endgame is like my favorite, or like a little bit better than Infinity War. But recently, I rewatched Infinity War. Actually, like a couple weeks ago. Out of all these MCU movies, except for Fantastic Four, this is the one I rewatched the most recently. Um, and I'll admit this is better than I remember. It was actually really entertaining. I watched this 11 p.m. at night. It's such a good late night movie. I thought it would be a little bit less impactful in outside the theater because in the theater you have everyone laughing and cheering, and I just don't think it would you know have the same vibe. But it actually did. It was a really entertaining, very fun, very fast paced film. I still really like Thanos as a character. He's still one of the best MCU villains. The way they like kind of introduce his mindset with this with the flashback with Gamora, where he's kind of like distracting a young Gamora while half of this planet just gets like shot up behind him. It creates such a very inviting and very empathetic, but also very menacing villain. Just and Josh Brolin is like such a good actor. He does a really good job in this. Um, yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed this film when I first saw it. I still really do. I'm gonna put this above Black Panther. I really do love this film. Right now, it's the best MCU film. And then, and then, after two of like the best MCU films, after two like masterpieces in a row, we get Ant-Man and the Wasp. Whatever, man. It's mid. Um, I do got a confession to make. This came out when 2018, right? So this came out 7 years ago. So when I was like 10 or 9 years old, this came out, and I actually watched it 5 times in a row because yeah, I was a dumb kid, so I thought it was funny and entertaining. But also, I was 9 to 10 years old. I was just getting to puberty and stuff. And whoever plays the Wasp was really good looking in that movie. So I'm gonna just be honest. I watched that film 5 times in the theater because I had a crush on whoever played the Wasp. I think it was Evangelina Jolie. No, no, it isn't. I messed up the name. Anyways, whoever the actress who played her, really good looking in this movie. So I wasted $100 of my parents' money watching this film that wasn't even that good because I had a crush on the Wasp. I don't even know what I was thinking back then because whoever plays Ghost in that movie is a lot better looking. I think she's definitely the best looking in that movie. Um, so I just had a bad taste in women, I guess. Anyways, yeah, I mean, I wasted $100 of my parents' money, maybe even more, watching this movie again and again. But it's not terrible. Obviously, I'm making jokes, but honestly, it's not even that bad of a movie. Like again, Luis is like one of my favorite comedic reliefs. He has like two really good scenes in this film. It's really funny. It's really entertaining. Um, I'll go C tier, top of C tier, or actually below Doctor Strange because Doctor Strange had those really good visual moments. I really like the story there. Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania is just like this dumb fun. Oh shit! And I almost forgot to say this. While we're on, because I said earlier that Mads Mikkelsen is one of the like most wasted actors in this franchise. Walton Goggins was wasted in this film, like really wasted. He did not you have like a really great actor here. Like The Hateful Eight is one of my favorite movies of all time. Actually, a day ago, I ordered a Hateful Eight poster. Walton Goggins is like one of the most underrated actors of all time, and you just like use him in this movie as a comedic relief villain. Like such a waste of a good actor. So that actually makes me angry. I'm glad it's in C tier for that because yeah, it's just a very mid movie. Why am I getting so many spam calls? That for some reason I watched 5 times when I was a kid. Anyways, Captain Marvel. Speaking of mid, this is also pretty mid. And one of the complaints I've been saying for a lot of these movies, like Age of Ultron and the first Avengers, and I think even Captain America, the first Avenger, is that the villain is like really easy to beat. Like for a few of these films, I think the villain is a little bit too weak, and it kind of sucks out some of the tension because the villain is like really easy to beat at the end of the film. Well, Captain Marvel is like the worst offender of this because Captain Marvel is so overpowered, and all the people she fights in this movie, she just like rams through them, like just not one scene where like she's in danger or you feel like she's gonna die. She just like rams through every villain, every antagonist in this film, whether it be Skrull, whether it be her teacher played by um what's his name her mentor that turns into a villain that's also played by a really good actor that's wasted in this movie. And then you got Ronan at the end, who's just like she's she's just crashing through ships. She's so overpowered in this movie. It just sucks out all the tension. You don't believe for a second she's ever gonna lose because she's so overpowered. Just makes for a very boring film. Also for a '90s film, like it's trying to go for that type of time period '90s feel. I just don't think it really like captures that vibe. Um, just kind of like out of all, especially like compared to like I don't know Stranger Things or even like earlier in this franchise with the first Avenger, I think it does a really bad job at like capturing the time periods, and it's just they don't really explore it that well. And again, Captain Marvel as a character is just kind of a boring character because she's so overpowered, but also because they don't really do that interesting stuff with her character. Which is weird saying because she actually has like a really interesting arc in this movie. They do some interesting stuff with her character where she spends the whole movie completely believing in this society, in this cause that she's fighting for. She has her own like planet and she hates scrolls and basically that Black Mirror episode, Hated in the Nation. That's what this is. Like this guy who just believes in a cause and is trying to kill these people that he sees as monsters, but actually aren't monsters, but like good people that he's just been brainwashed to kill. That's actually a really interesting concept that you could really build on and explore and make an interesting character out of. But because Brie Larson is like so like bland in this movie, or maybe she's just not given enough in the script because she's really good a good actor. Like I heard The Room's really good and there's some roles she's been in that I think she's really good in. I just don't think the script gave her anything really. Like she realizes that this cause she's been fighting is like a complete lie and she's killed many innocent people because of it and we just get like one scene where she like walks outside the house and is like, "Oh no." Anyways, let's blow some ships. That's all. That's all they give her. It's like the most half-assed character development you could give when you really set up a really good character arc for her and you just do absolutely nothing. That makes me pissed. This is actually going D tier for that one. I was gonna put it in like bottom of C tier, but the more I think about it, it's like worse than Iron Man 2. Because they just do nothing for character. They had so much potential and they just like squander it. It's such imagine how you feel if like you were fighting for a cause that you really believed in, fighting for people, and you realize that you were the villain. Think of Andor. Anybody in the chat see Andor? You know, in season 2 when Cyril finds out that the Empire is actually trying to massacre the Gormans, and he finds out that this cause that he's been fighting for his whole life has all been like a scam. You just see it in his eyes and his like facial acting that the what's his name, the actor does a really good job at conveying. It just kind of breaks him as a character. It makes Cyril one of the most interesting characters in Andor season 2. Or think of that Black Mirror episode I was talking about earlier. I don't know how many you guys saw it because it's such a underrated episode, but it really like breaks the character learning that this side that he's been fighting on is all a scam, but mostly that he's been killing innocent people thinking that they were like bad people and they do nothing here. It's just it's an interesting concept and they do nothing. It's really frustrating. Anyways, I'm done ranting about Captain Marvel because it's really like hurting me in the brain. The more I talk about it, the more I'm thinking of putting an F tier, but again, it's entertaining, I guess. It's superficially entertaining. I wouldn't say it's boring, especially compared to Thor the Dark World. There's a little bit of something. Um But anyways, let's start talking about that because we got Endgame to talk about. One of the best MCU films, and as I said, I used to think this was better than Infinity War simply for the first half of this movie. Because most people don't like that there's so much setting up in this film. That's so slow, that's so long, and that the first hour is just like kind of catching up with these characters after this time jump and seeing how they react to the blip. That's actually like one of my favorite parts of the movie and one of the most interesting parts of this movie. One second. Sorry, I talk so much. Makes me want to burp. Because it just adds like so much more personal stakes compared to Infinity War. You get some of that where like in Infinity War, Tony says that he's been waiting for Thanos for like 12 years and now he's back and he's kind of talking about that. But in this film in particular, every character in this film like has a reason to hate Thanos and really like be depressed, want to see their friends come back. There's some personal stakes in this film, and I just love how that is explored, especially with like Hawkeye, who's always been one of the more boring characters in this franchise. The way he kind of reacts to it is one of the most interesting parts of the film. Seeing Tony have a family and kind of like try to move past it, but not really because he has like that picture of Tom Holland Spider Man. You see that it still eats up on a lot of our heroes. That's one of the more interesting parts. Even like Thor, not a lot of people like what they do with Thor in this movie, but I think it was kind of interesting, made him a comedic relief, but also like a comedic relief that like the Guardians of the Galaxy films, a very broken comedic relief that has like tragedy behind it, but is also allowed to be really funny. I like what they did with Thor. I wish they didn't keep him that way for Thor Love and Thunder. I wish he went back to Infinity War Thor later on, but that's besides the point. Um yeah, and the second half with the time traveling is also really good. Very entertaining, very riveting, seeing them go back to these different such a great way to end the Infinity Saga too, going back to all these iconic moments in the MCU. Just a very smart way to do that and have so many callbacks while also still tying into the story. Definitely the most fun part about this movie is going back in time. Actually, I take that back. The most fun part about this movie is the last hour of the film, where it's just like nonstop action, payoff. Like, if so much of this movie and so much of this franchise is just set up for Endgame, then the last hour of Endgame is just payoff after payoff after payoff. I do wish they did a little bit more with Drax though, because a lot of Drax's character is about how Thanos killed his family, and then we just don't get a scene between him and Drax, but we do get a scene between Thanos and Scarlet Witch. I do think they could have like added a little bit more at the end, but still, just like an amazing ending to this film. I do love everything about it. It's not very rewatchable, especially especially compared to Infinity War, because there's a lot more slower pace, a lot more setting up our characters. But that's also kind of why I like it. So I still say Infinity War is a little bit better, especially for that ending. But I will say Infinity War, made me very happy, and Endgame made me cry. Iron Man dying made me cry. Okay, I'll be the first to admit it. Iron Man dying made me cry. Okay, and Captain America turning old also made me tear up a little bit. All right, I'm sorry if that like breaks your image of me, but that's just true. I'm gonna be honest here. It's a very sad film. But yeah, I really enjoy this. And going from one of the best MCU films to one of the most mediocre MCU films, we got Far From Home. It's fine. I mean, especially like I guess after like one of the most impactful, one of the most like epic MCU films, following that up with like a fun road trip movie, kind of like how Infinity War was followed up by a fun heist film with Ant-Man the Wasp. I guess that's fine. That's fine. It does like set your expectations for like the rest of these films because after Endgame, you want every MCU film to be like Endgame, and you're just not gonna get that. So just kind of like stepping it back a little bit after Endgame, having one more film in Phase Three to kind of be like the mint after your dessert, or actually be like dessert after a main meal, like a little cupcake after you're done eating this delicious pasta that is Endgame. That's a good idea. White boy. Shut up, Albert. Get out of here. Anyways, I do think it's just kind of mediocre though. I don't find it that funny. Again, it's kind of like Thor Ragnarok where it's trying to be funny. But even when I watched it the first time, that was when I was really getting a little bit tired of the MCU sense of humor, and this really like doubles down on it. And also like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, there's not a lot of tension in this film. Like you don't really know that Mysterio is the main villain until later, and you don't really believe that like Spider-Man is gonna die or is in danger for most of the film because like the villains are like these faceless, personalityless monsters that are also projections. So for most of this film, Spider-Man is not in danger. It's just like a very by the books Spider-Man shenanigans. You see him like in Venice and stuff. It's a lot of fun, but not a lot of tension, not a lot of conflict in this film until like maybe the last third, and even then, like Mysterio, again, very weak villain. I know I've been saying this a lot, but like, I feel like we need a villain that's like strong enough to actually be a threat to our hero. I just don't think he's like that. He's just like a regular human being with a lot of like bots or like these drones, and that doesn't make for like a very threatening antagonist. Except for that one scene, I will say this is the best part of that movie. That one scene where he's like in this like projection universe where he's like punching a wall. You know what scene I'm talking about in the warehouse, and he gets hit in the train, hit by a train at the end. That scene is so good. It's so visually like trippy and shit. Really good scene. It actually adds tension to the film. But overall, it's not that funny. It's very like it's very mediocre. I think it's not that great. Which may become maybe a hot take. I know some people actually really like this film, but I just don't love it that much. I'm gonna put it right below Doctor Strange. Yeah, that seems right. Anyways, we're done with the Infinity Saga. Jesus Christ, how long have I been talking? 1 hour and 21 minutes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Kind of out of breath right now, but I'm gonna try to keep going. We're almost done. We're almost done. I'm actually kind of glad now that I didn't include the TV shows because I'd be here for another hour, and my parents come back in like 45 minutes. They're rewatching Fantastic Four. Anyways, starting with Phase 4, which is like one of the most divisive phase. Phase 4 and 5 are like the most divisive phase going in phases. Why did I say phase? Phases. Starting with Black Widow, which realistically should have came out like before Infinity War. Like this is like a prequel film, and the problem with most prequels is that you know the main character is going to survive, so like there's not like a lot of tension here. And also making a film that takes place 5 years before Infinity War about a character who like dies in Endgame, just it's kind of a weird choice. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of a weird choice. I don't know why they released this so late in the game. Also, for a spy film, there's not a lot of espionage in it. Like, okay, this is never gonna happen, but imagine like Steven Soderbergh directed this film, like a guy who's really good at creating the spy espionage. Like, if you're gonna make a spy film, make a spy film. Make it like James Bond, Jason Bourne, what a Ethan Hunt type shit, you know? Like make it interesting, make it a lot of espionage and a lot of like twists or reveals. But what they did here is very straightforward. Like for a spy film, there's not a lot of spying or anything like that. It's just like your standard MCU film, and it ends with that big giant CGI battle. And speaking of which, at this point, the CGI is getting really bad. All right, I'm gonna just be honest. The CGI, especially like Falcon, the Winter Soldier, and WandaVision, and all the TV shows. At this point, you can tell that COVID is kind of affecting it. But even at this point, like years after COVID, you can kind of see that the MCU just stopped giving a shit about their VHS team and just like started getting the worst like green screen, and that really does bring down this film. Um, so yeah, it's kind of mediocre. I also don't like Taskmaster. Taskmaster. Am I saying that right? Taskmaster. I forgot. Yeah, that's his name. Her name, I guess. Anyways, I don't like her as a villain. She's kind of boring. Also, Reese Witherspoon plays like this big Russian bad guy. Is not really that interesting either. Um, I do like the side characters they introduce here, like David Harbour and who play Florence Pugh. They're like interesting. They're good actors and they play interesting characters. But like other than that, it's just kind of a boring film. I do wish they kind of lean more into the spy aspect if they're really gonna make a spy film. Um, Scarlett Johansson isn't getting that much, or like her Black Widow as a character isn't given that much. So you really didn't need a film about Black Widow if you're just not gonna give her that much development, other than add more to her backstory. Um, yeah, it's a very weird film to start Phase 4 with. I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go right above Ant-Man and Wasp and right below No Way Home. Just kind of like the most middle of the road MCU film. Ooh. Now it's a middle finger. See that? Kind of like the thumb is S tier, and kind of like right. I don't know, man. I'm sleep deprived. Okay, I woke up really early today, so just don't. Where the hell did I have it? No, no. Okay, no. Oh shit! I forgot where. Wait, can I go back? No, I can't. Um, Chat, help me out. How did I have this before I started messing with it? It was like, the, was Guardians of the Galaxy 2 in C tier? I don't think so. No, Thor was in C tier. Okay, there we go. That's it. Okay, I almost messed up this entire list making that stupid joke. Anyways, Eternals. Um, earlier, Arjun Vadakut, if I'm saying your name correctly, you asked if Eternals would be an F tier. And I still don't know because there's some stuff I like about Eternals, and I feel this is like the main complaint with Eternals. I feel like if Eternals was a TV show, it would actually be really solid. Just because they introduced so many different characters in this film and so many different time jumps in this film. This really, it's such a long film. This could have been like a really good TV show, but because they condensed all these different characters, this big epic story into a 2.5, sorry, 2.5 hour movie, it makes for a film that's very long and very slow, but also very rushed at the same time. It doesn't develop any of the characters, but it's still like so slow and takes so much of your time. And again, Bill Skarsgård is like wasted in this movie. I don't know what it is about the MCU taking these really good actors and giving them like the most boring villains. But like, he's not even the main villain in this. He's not even the most interesting villain in this. Honestly, I kind of forgot he was in this film until I like looked it up before this ranking. Um, he's just a big CGI alien that does nothing. And you take this actor who's like really well known for like making these really creepy facial expressions and having a very creepy voice, and you just make him a CGI monster. That's such a weird choice. And also, all the Eternals are not that interesting, except for the Superman character with like the who kind of like believes it still believes in the cause and doesn't really care for the humans and wants to sacrifice all humans, so like this giant monster comes out of the planet. That's definitely one of the more interesting characters. Everyone else here though is just kind of like kind of bland, very one note. I didn't really care for them. Um, sorry. Yeah, yeah. Just a very boring movie, very slow movie. I do like some of the ideas they introduce here. I also like the CGI. You could tell that they actually filmed this in real environments, real places, especially the ending. They filmed this in a real desert, and you can tell the CGI is pretty good. It looks really nice visually. This is one of the better Phase 4 MCU films. But also just like such a rushed and slow film that honestly could have been a TV show and would have been like 10 times better. I don't think it's terrible. I don't think it's like the boring slog that most people think. I actually think it's better than Captain Marvel and yeah, I would put it above Iron Man 2 because Iron Man 2 is a mess. But actually Robert Downey Jr. is in it. I do find the characters a little bit more interesting. It's also a lot like shorter than Eternals. Also Eternals looks really good, but also wastes Bill Skarsgård. Okay, middle D tier. That sounds right. Right above Captain Marvel, right below Iron Man 2. Yeah, yeah. Anyways, Shang-Chi. I definitely mispronounced that. Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi. Shang. Fuck you. Okay. The martial arts movie. The Legend of the Ten Rings. Shang-Chi. I said that right, right? Right? Someone help me out. How do you say Shang-Chi? I'm saying it wrong, right? Shang-Chi. I feel like I'm saying it right. Anyways, whoever plays Shang-Chi is really good, very charismatic. I do the best part about this movie obviously is the martial arts side of it. Like very Jackie Chan Bruce Lee inspired action scenes where he like kind of takes off the vest as someone's grabbing and like punches it. That scene on the bus is really good where he's like fighting these guys just through martial arts. I do think though, as this film goes on and it becomes a little bit more mystical, that's where it kind of loses me. Like I do like the very grounded hand to hand combat scenes, but like when the bus like starts being cut in half and you have like this CGI bus skiing through the road, that's when it kind of loses me and becomes like less about the practical fights and less about the martial arts and more about oh look the bus is cut in half and some cool CGI explosions and shit that I don't really like that. I don't like how it just turns into the usual MCU silliness. And then especially at the end, you have like this really like bitter and very like serious conflict between the father and the son. which I actually really like. I think it has one of the better villains, like the father wanting to see his wife again, and the son trying to tell him to let go. I find Shang-Chi's relationship and dynamic with his father to be the most interesting part of this movie. But when it kind of like sidelines from that and turns into Shang-Chi like riding this giant dragon, that's where it loses me. They have really interesting ideas and really interesting conflict here, but then they just add this giant CGI dragon and the CGI rings. It just, and I feel like the action was really good before. Just this practical fight scenes, it just kind of loses me a little bit, especially at the ending when they just like keep cutting back to this Trevor something character, the actor character who's supposed to be comedic relief, but really isn't that funny, and also kind of takes away from the seriousness of the fights where they keep cutting to this guy doing goofy stuff, and it's just one of the MCU films that you're gonna see a lot coming forward, where like the humor kind of takes away from the seriousness of the situation, and the MCU humor detracts from the film. So, yeah, a lot of stuff I love, but also a lot of stuff that really brings it down. I'm gonna go B tier when it really could be A tier. Like I really do love that dynamic between the father and the son, and the villain, and the martial arts aspects. I do really like Shang-Chi as a character, even if I don't think I'm pronouncing his name right. But as is right now, I'm gonna put it right below Iron Man 3 and right above the Avengers. Yeah, that seems right. Jesus, I ripped a hole through this. What the hell? That's mucus on my hand. I'm gonna get a new tissue. I'll be right back. Don't leave. I'll be right back. All right. Sorry about that. I'm back. Um, Let me refresh the chat because I feel like. Oh no! Look at that, 5 viewers. All right, some people actually care what I have to say about these movies. That's cool. Anyways, um, where are we? No Way Home. Okay, this is like the Spider-Man multiverse film that a lot of people love, and also one of the Phase 4 films that a lot of people really take away and say is the best one. As far as Phase 4 goes, I do think Wakanda Forever and Loki Season 2 are my favorites. But yeah, No Way Home is really good. I actually really enjoy this film. I know some people have a problem with like the setup of this film and the plot, and it's kind of like a plot hole that Doctor Strange would just let this kid, make him do this magic trick that could end the world. And some people see Doctor Strange as kind of an idiot here, and see kind of like a lot of plot conveniences with this film. That's the main complaint I've heard. It also didn't bother me that much. The setup to this film, Doctor Strange has always been a very cocky, very arrogant guy, so I could see, this setup for this film working. Um, and also, I really do like the plot of this film. Like a lot of people think it's just cameos and fan service, and yeah, okay, that's the main reason I like this film. It's because of the fan service and the cameos. And seeing Willem Dafoe again. Willem Dafoe just kills it as Green Goblin again. And Jamie Foxx also. Jamie Foxx really redeems Electro. Electro is like one of my least favorite Spider-Man villains, but he's really funny and really good in this. Um, but besides the cameos, I do really like what they do with Peter's character here. The sacrifice he makes at the end, and really, seeing Aunt May die and seeing like that plot line, seeing how Aunt May's death affects him, and also, like seeing uh, Toby and Andrew again. They really do add to the plot because we kind of see, what's his name, Tom Holland Tom Holland Spider. I'm not gonna say Peter. I'm just gonna say the actors' names because there's three Spider-Man. You see, like Tom Holland, he's kind of affected by Aunt May's death, and the only people who could talk about it with him is Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. So it kind of like adds to the plot having these characters introduced again. Um, so yeah, I really did enjoy it. I do think the ending could have been longer. Like, like the fight scene between the Spider-Man and the villains, like, I mean, there's a lot of fun to be had with the concepts, and I do think it was just kind of rushed through a little bit. Also, Doc Ock is kind of sidelined. Like Doc Ock has always been one of my favorite Spider-Man villains, but he doesn't really do a lot in this film. Either way, No Way Home is pretty good. I'm gonna put it I'm gonna put it at bottom of no, I'll put it right below Guardians of the Galaxy. That seems right. Then we got Multiverse of Madness. And I know a lot of people hate this film. It's a very divided film, or some people see it as mediocre, some people see it as just straight up terrible. Most of that has to do with the script. A lot of people have poked on the plot holes behind the script and saw some of the dialogue as cringe. And I love Mom. Oh, you're talking about Multiverse of Madness. Okay, I read that wrong. I actually kind of agree with you because as I was about to say, I do really like Multiverse of Madness quite a bit, and most of that has to do with Sam Raimi. Sam Raimi is like such a great director. He's one of my favorites. Like Evil Dead is like one of my favorite horror movies. I really do like Drag Me to Hell, and he did a really good job with the first three Spider-Man movies. And when I heard that Sam Raimi was directing this, I was really excited to see what he was gonna do. But going in and I watched watching this, I realized this was not Spider-Man Sam Raimi. This was not comic book Raimi. This was Evil Dead Sam Raimi directing this. Like you got like all this gnarly imagery of like the guy's head exploding and Mr. Fantastic turning to like spaghetti, and there's a lot of creepy scenes in this. This is like the most horror like film in the MCU. Except for Werewolf by Night, which for some reason isn't on this tier list. I thought Werewolf by Night would be on it. Anyways, this is like the most horror adjacent MCU film. Very creepy, very campy visuals. Sam Raimi really goes crazy with this film. And a little bit gory. Like this is like the most violent PG-13 MCU film, kind of like getting you ready for the rated R Deadpool and Wolverine, which is pretty cool. Um Obviously there's issues with the plot and you could like poke holes in the plot and stuff. None of that really like bothered me, but like once people pointed it out, I did understand what they were saying. Also, the ending is a little bit anticlimactic. And for a multiverse film, listen, I like that it wasn't all just cameos and stupid fan service. I love that it was a more focused story. But I do think like yeah, I do think for a multiverse film they could have gone a little bit more crazier. Like Sam Raimi, crazy director, but like he doesn't really like do that much crazy stuff aside from some of the visuals and that guy's head is floating and some of the horror adjacent scenes. And also Elizabeth Olsen's really good at playing Scarlet Witch. Like hear me out, bro. I can. But yeah. I really enjoy this film. I'll go despite its flaws, I'll go top of B tier actually because Sam Raimi just does a really good job here. You need to watch the Hulk. It's probably the best Hulk project I've seen. Really? Well, I guess I mean not a lot of competition there, right? Because you got the Hulk, Eric Bana's the Hulk, and then you got the Hulk TV show, which is just like a campy's '80s show. But yeah, if you're saying that, I'll definitely check it out. I do wish we get another Hulk movie before Mark Ruffalo retires because that guy's like 70 years old. So if we're gonna make like a Hulk movie, like make it fast, you know what I mean? But yeah. Anyways, next up we got Wakanda Forever, which is like the ending to Phase 4, and I actually think it's pretty good. Like after Phase 4 was criticized for like wait a second. Doesn't Thor come before Wakanda Forever? Because Thor is a Phase 4 project. Wakanda Forever is at the end of Phase 4. Chat, help me out. Is Thor? Whatever. Okay. I'm gonna just talk about Wakanda Forever because I don't really want to talk about Thor right now. I want to talk about the good films first. Anyways, Ryan Coogler is obviously a great director, especially with Sinners being my favorite film from this year so far. I do think he does a really good job with this film, like visually. Um, and it's a very serious film. Like after all of Phase Four was criticized for too much MCU humor and being too lighthearted, this film is really serious, really like rich in emotion because obviously a Chadwick Boseman's death, and the film kind of works around that really well. By the way, obviously Chadwick Boseman was supposed to be part of this film, but they do a really good job like rewriting it and taking their time with the CGI. Of course, I do think it's a very emotionally and thematically rich film. You can tell it's made by the same guys who made the first film. I wouldn't say it's as good as Black Panther one, but I do really like it. I like that it takes itself more seriously with less humor, and some of the action scenes are pretty good. Namor is one of the better MCU villains. Not as good as Killmonger, obviously, but I do really like the way the underwater world is visualized. Yeah, I just really like spending more time in Wakanda. As I said, it's one of the more interesting settings in the MCU, if not the best setting in the MCU, especially compared to like I don't know, like as Asgard or whatever they go to in Quantumania. Yeah, I'm gonna put it bottom of A tier actually. No, not above the Winter Soldier, I don't think. Anyways, have you seen that apparently Mark Buffalo, you mean Mark Ruffalo, is gonna be Hulk and Bruce is gonna be Bruce in the new Spider-Man? Oh, so all right. I know he's gonna be a new Spider-Man, but you're saying that he's gonna like no more Smart Hulk. They're gonna go back to the normal Hulk, where like he's scientist and then he turns it. I actually really like that. I wish they do that because Smart Hulk, it was interesting for a time, but I feel like especially when She-Hulk came out, everyone was ready for him to turn back to his usual self. So that'd be cool. That'd be cool. I want to see that. I really want to see that. Just have an angry Hulk again. I mean that'd be really cool to see. I don't know how people dislike Black Panther 2, but I really enjoy Wakanda. Yeah, a lot of people dislike this movie for some reason. I guess it's not perfect, especially compared to the first film, and obviously some people were still like dealing with the disappointment that was Phase 4 of the MCU, so maybe that has something to do with it. But I do really enjoy what they did there, and I just want to see a strong, beefy Hulk. Yeah, like in the Incredible Hulk. I haven't seen it, but just seen clips of it with him being all like aggressive and stuff. That'll be really cool. Then we got Thor: Love and Thunder. Now I'll be honest, when I saw this when I was in theaters, I actually didn't hate it. For one, I kind of had the right expectations going in. I saw the Rotten Tomato score. I heard everyone's problems with it, and I knew it was gonna be goofy. Like, what is the main thing everyone compliments Thor Ragnarok on? It's this comedy. It's that it's a very fun, very lighthearted, very comedic MCU film. And Taika Waititi is just that kind of director, so of course they're gonna like double down on that. I do really think they did a good job with gore. Again, I'm not a comic reader. You gotta put that in mind when ranking these films. So I don't know Gore as a character other than how he's represented in this film. And even though I would love to see him do like more killing and more like gore related stuff, like God Butcher stuff, I do really enjoy his character, his backstory, and how he was like introduced in the opening. Christian Bale is obviously a great actor. Um, so I enjoyed this, but I do realize if I was to rewatch it, I probably wouldn't like it that much. I didn't find it that funny in the theater because again, like I don't like MCU humor. I think it's just not that funny anymore. I feel like it's played out. I feel like we need a new style of humor. Like I'll talk about this later, but I do think like Fantastic Four has a really good style of humor. Um, and there's like a lot of like very emotional scenes with like Jane getting cancer and like Thor's friends dying. It's just undercut by jokes after jokes after jokes and making a joke out of cancer, which doesn't really work in concept and doesn't really work in execution. Um, like out of all these films, this is the worst offender of cutting serious moments with MCU humor. So, oh, and the CGI. Okay, we're at the point where like the CGI is like really becoming a problem, and you're gonna see that a lot with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. The CGI is starting to get like Spy Kids 3 level, and you're really gonna see that with the next one I'm about to talk about. So even though I enjoyed this when it came out, no, I do like that it's colorful though. Like in a franchise that's mostly gray and mostly like very not with a color palette. I do like that this film is a little bit more colorful with its visuals. I just wish the visuals were a little bit less green screen, you know? So I'm gonna put this right above Captain Marvel in D tier. I'm fully agreeing with all your takes, not gonna lie. Thank you, Javi, and thanks for commenting so much. Nice to see that you're really getting into the stream. Gamer time though. Yep. Notes up, and even before I talk about this, I'm gonna just put an F tier. What else? What else? Honestly, of course, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is one of the most disappointing and one of the worst MCU films, worse than the Dark World. It's really, really, really bad. I'm not even gonna lie. It Modoc. I'll admit, the first 40 minutes I was into it, but the minute Modoc is introduced, I can't think of any other film where like one singular scene just completely took me out of the film. Just like his mask being taken off, and you see his stretched out CGI face, and I'm like, what are we doing? This is the same franchise that made Black Panther and Infinity War. And at this point of the franchise, I just like can't imagine this is the same world as Iron Man and the Avengers. I can't imagine this is the same world. This is just like so goddamn stupid. Why are we doing this? And Kang, I thought Jonathan Majors did a good job portraying him, especially in Loki. I think he's an interesting villain. But here he's just whatever. I don't even have a problem with him being beaten by ants because these are ants that are like a thousand years in like advanced technology, so kind of makes sense. But like the film should have ended with Ant-Man losing. If they really want to set up Kang as this big threat, don't make him lose in his first two outings as a villain, like with Loki in this film. Especially at the end, when they introduce a council of kings and you see all these different kings and this CGI Coliseum and the acting is so goofy. Like, I'm actually really glad we're getting Doom. I'm glad they dropped King as a villain because that just looks so fucking stupid. Really stupid. This whole movie's just fucking stupid. The dialogue where like the main reason MODOK turns good at the end is because Ant-Man's daughter says, "Stop being a jerk. Stop being a dick." And he's like, "Oh, okay. I guess I'll turn good now." Fuck you. Okay? This is like a fucking terrible movie. This is like Spy Kids 3, but without like the charm from Robert Rodriguez. Um, but don't you think that is only the possible way to make MODOK is kind of funny too? I didn't find it that funny, I guess. I guess MODOK, he's always gonna be a goofy character. Um, I just don't know if I really like MODOK as a character. Again, I'm not a comic reader. I don't really have like any association or nostalgia for those comics. But honestly, like I just don't like MODOK as a character, I guess. And even the way outside of the way he looks and outside of the CGI, even his personality I feel is just kind of too goofy. Especially I feel like the Hulu show MODOK did a better job making MODOK more funny and more interesting than he was in this film. He looks so dumb. It's why is Norton? Uh, Norton is so dumb. It's funny. Have you ever seen MODOK in the anime shows? Yeah, that's why I'm saying. I feel like even personality based, he's just so stupid, so goofy. And again, this is like such a big CGI fest, and the CGI isn't good. And the world they go in, what is it called? The quantum zone or whatever you call it, is one of the least interesting, most visually bland, gross worlds they ever created. I never want to see that place again. It's just all CGI, all these bland, gross colors and color palettes. It's just like such a bad film to look at. I really do not like this film. It just made me cringe from beginning to end watching it in theater. Just really not funny. I don't think I even laughed once. And also Ant Man has. Oh, also no Luis. Where's Luis? Luis is like the best part of these Ant Man movies, and you're not gonna have Michael Pena back. What the hell's wrong with you? All right, just put him in the quantum zone somehow. I don't care how. Just push him into this movie. We need Luis in the Ant-Man movie. Otherwise, it's just any other MCU film. So, and also, Ant-Man as a character, yeah, exactly. It's just like the big hole in this film. But also, Ant-Man as a character, the whole idea behind him, the main appeal is seeing him like shrink down to like a very small size and interact with these everyday objects as if they're huge. That's one of the best parts, the most fun parts about his action scenes and his character, just seeing him like shrink down and that visually it's really cool how they visualize it. But when you play Ant-Man, his whole deal is that into a world not like ours. You can't even tell when he's like small or when he's big. There's a scene where both him and his daughter are supposed to be like 60 feet tall. I can't even tell because it's in front of a green screen. So I don't care if he's tall or small or whatever. He's just a random guy in a suit walking around this different world for all I care. So yeah, it just like completely squanders his concept, the concept of Ant-Man as a character and his superpower. So I've been ranting about this film a lot. Anyways, let's get back to the good MCU films, huh? Let's go back to like MCU films I actually give a shit about. So even though it had a rough start, and there's gonna be one more film that I haven't seen that I heard is pretty bad. Um, Phase Five I actually thought was pretty good. Overall, I think Phase Five had a lot of solid films, and I gotta be honest, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 may be my favorite MCU film. Of course, Loki season 2 is still like top 3 and maybe a little bit better. And maybe Infinity War is better. As I talk about it, maybe I'll figure out if I should put above or below Infinity War. But yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is a really, really good film. James Gunn, again, you can tell that he's saying goodbye to these characters. He's saying goodbye to the MCU. He's about to do the DCU. He put so much love into this movie and how he directs it, how he writes these characters. Writing wise, this is like the most vulnerable these characters have ever been, really going into their backstory. We see these characters acting wise, we see these characters like crying and shit. Like you really like it's really like the most interesting like this group has been as a dynamic. It obviously builds on Rocket's character and make Rocket like one of the better characters in this franchise and one of the best characters in this franchise. Um I mean, James Gunn's skill to make this like raccoon a character you care about, like this raccoon who was once comedic relief, just a complete joke, and make him like one of the most complex and interesting characters in this franchise. Only James Gunn, baby. Only James Gunn can do that. I do think Superman is a little. No, actually, I think Superman is second to this film when it comes to his superhero films. I just really love the action scenes too. That hallway fight and it's not like a big actiony film, but the action scenes we do get is pretty good. And the High Evolutionary is a great villain. Of course, this is another film where like the villain is a little bit weak, like he's a little bit easy to defeat. But for this film in particular, I didn't really care because it's mostly about these characters and their development and their arc and seeing them like kind of like leave and the end of their dynamic, the end of this franchise. A lot of this is about the characters, so I don't really care if like the villain was a little bit easy beat because it's not about beating a villain, it's about the characters this time around. And High Evolutionary, very well acted by whoever plays him. Very hateable villain. I love the design of him too. That very RoboCop type face. And basically RoboCop really good film. Anyways, that very RoboCop stretched face. I love the design of him too. The scenes, the flashbacks of him and Rocket are like very disturbing. Like very almost like rated R, where like on these like small animals you can see these metal parts like fused into their skin, and you see like these red blood marks in the places where they're fused. It's very disturbing. It makes you kind of like gross a little bit just watching like what they're experimenting on these animals. So yeah, it's a very ballsy film too. As the first F word in the MCU, you see someone's head get decapitated. That pig monster, or like the High Evolutionary's henchmen, that are just like these mutant animals are really gross and gnarly, but also like very cool at the same time. So like visually, this is like one of the most like disturbing MCU films, even more so than like Deadpool and Wolverine, which is actually rated R. You really do feel the stakes in this film because of that. Um, and yeah, you just really get emotionally invested. The soundtrack also amazing. This is like the first time in this trilogy where I really realized how hard the Guardians of the Galaxy theme like really slaps. And also just like all the pop songs they choose. Honestly, the ending with like Dog Days Are Over, like just a really good soundtrack. I love everything about it. I'm gonna put it right below Infinity War, right there, right below Infinity War and right above Endgame. That sounds right. Maybe above Infinity War one day. We'll see. I have not seen the Marvels. I don't really care to watch it. It just doesn't seem like my thing, and I feel like if I do watch it, I'm not even gonna enjoy it that much. So like, what's the point? Um, I didn't like the first one. I never saw Miss Marvel or what's his name? What's her name? Kamala Khan. I didn't see her show either. I don't know. I didn't really care for these characters. I just didn't really want to see this film. It just didn't, especially in an age where I'm just really sick of MCU humor. This seems to like really be double downing on it. And everyone I heard who has seen this movie say it's mid. There's some who actually really enjoy it, but I don't know. And also, I heard the villain and the CGI is mid too. Again, so many things that's like preventing me from watching it. Maybe one of these days I'll get to watching it, but as is right now, I don't know. I just don't care. I really don't care to watch this film. Then we got Deadpool and Wolverine, and yeah, I actually really enjoyed this one. I know I've been saying that MCU action scenes aren't that interesting, but for this film in particular, I hot take, I think this is the best action in the MCU, like actual John Wick shit for once. Like that one long take where like Deadpool and Wolverine are fighting all these different Deadpool variants is just so cool. Just a big long take on the street, and you see so much stuff is happening at once. Even if it is CGI, it's just like so cool. You can see how much effort was put into that scene. Um, yeah, and all the action scenes are pretty good. Sean Levy is really good at directing the action. I want to see him direct more action, more films. As a matter of fact, in the MCU. Hey, Luke Ponto, nice to see you here. I'm doing well myself. Hope you're doing well. Did you catch up on your videos, your review of Fantastic Four? Um, anyways, Deadpool Wolverine. I wouldn't say it's fantastic. I do think the soundtrack is a little bit obnoxious. That's my main complaint with this film, actually, the soundtrack. Whereas with Deadpool and Wolverine, I think the pop songs really elevate the film. And yeah, Like a Prayer is a great needle drop, especially for the scene where they're fighting in that long take, and obviously when they're sacrificing themselves. Like a Prayer is one of the best needle drops in the MCU. But like everything else, like the electronic soundtrack they have here, especially compared to the previous Deadpool films, like the first two, I just feel like the soundtrack doesn't hit as hard. Like when they introduce Blade and Elektra and those cameos, you just hear like a cat meowing and all these different weird sounds. I just don't like that. You know, it just kind of takes me out of what should be a really cool scene. With that said, though, it's pretty funny. It's one of the funniest MCU films. For Deadpool in particular, I've been saying that I don't like MCU humor, but it actually really does work with Deadpool. I think either because of Ryan Reynolds' delivery or he just has like a very special type of sense of humor, it just works really well. I love his dynamic with Wolverine, even though it's not the Wolverine we're familiar with. I think Wolverine is used really well in this film, where like he his banter with Deadpool is really good. They play off each other really well, and Hugh Jackman does a really good job in the role too. But also, is oh, what do you call it? He also has like the emotion. He's like the emotional arc of the film too. He's the one with the development. Deadpool is kind of given development, but it just seems kind of rushed in the background. To be honest, Wolverine is given like the big emotional moments, which really like adds to the film as a whole. Cassandra Nova is kind of a boring villain. I honestly wish they just like made it what's his name? I kind of wish they made it that TVA guy played by that one white guy, the you know who I'm talking about. The guy who kind of like takes Deadpool from his world and tries to put him on a mission. He should have been the main villain. He was really funny. Cassandra Nova is just she's fine. Could just like left her in the void and had the ending be with all the Deadpool variants and the TVA guy. She did not need to be at the ending. I don't think she's just not that interesting as of a villain. Um, Actress who plays her though, you know, hear me out. I'm not really into bald chicks, but like, let's be real, okay? Yeah, she could turn me inside out any day. Nobody clip that. All right, I never said that. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm sleep deprived. Okay. Um, Yeah, again, good action, not a great soundtrack. but I do really enjoy this one. It's a lot of fun. It's very funny. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go above Civil War. Yeah, yeah, that feels right. Definitely like one of the best MCU films since Endgame at this point. Then we got Brave New World, and I'm gonna admit, like hot take, I actually do not hate this movie. I think it's pretty decent. All right. Um, I love how there's not a lot of humor in this, or MCU humor. It's very serious. I love the political thriller angle they're going with. I love the tone of this movie, and ironically, it makes when they do make a joke really funny. Like at the end, I have some issues with the ending that I'm gonna talk about, but at the end when he's like about to fight Red Hulk and he says, I should have taken the serum, Bucky's full of shit, like that's really funny. That actually made me laugh more than like most other MCU films. Which kind of shows that less is more. Like have less humor and when you actually do drop a joke it's gonna be a lot funnier. So I love the way this film is shot. I think it's like a different camera that they use. It's a little bit more grainy, and I really love that. Especially the lighting. It's such a more serious, very interesting look for this film. I do like the action scenes. I do like the way Sam Wilson fights people in this film. It's very interesting. With the vibranium wings, I do really like that combination. He definitely has one of the more interesting fighting styles. Anthony Mackie is very charismatic in the role. I do think his character should have had more. Like he doesn't really go through a character arc. All the character development is really given to Harrison Ford's character, Thunderbolt Thunderbolt Ross. What the fuck did I just say? Anyways, Harrison Ford's character. He gets like most of the development in this film. Um, which is fine because I think Harrison Ford does a really good job acting in this film. He's definitely like one of the best performances here. But I do wish they gave Anthony Mackie a little bit more. I do like the runtime of this film though. They could have added 10 minutes, but I really do like that it's like less than 2 hours. We haven't really gone that in the MCU for a while at this point. So it's a very entertaining film. Again, I like the political aspect. I like Tim Blake Nelson as a villain. I think he has a great voice, which really complements his role in the film because a lot of his dialogue is told through like a cell phone and voiceovers. So he has like a really menacing voice. Tim Blake Nelson did a really good job as the leader, even if his character design looked like inspired broccoli. It really did not look that good as a character design. But anyways, my main problem with this is again the CGI, which for the most part was pretty good, especially with the grainy camera footage. It definitely like complements the CGI where you don't notice a lot of the green screen. But the ending, you can tell the ending was reshoots. Like it's some of the most obvious reshoots. That whole fight scene with Red Hulk and Captain America, it just had really bad CGI, especially when they're in that park with like the trees with the pink flowers. Like you could just tell that was green screen. It's some of the most egregious CGI in this film. Um, but either way, it was fine. Also, it's kind of weird that Harrison Ford was wearing shorts after turning back down from Red Hulk. Like, I feel like those things were ripped. Not that I want to see any of that. I'm just saying, like, it's a plot hole. I don't want to see it. I'm glad he was wearing shorts. I just feel his shirt tore off, but like his shorts were still there. So I just don't understand the logic behind that. You know, like was he wearing spandex shorts? This is a very weird conversation I'm having with myself. Anyways, saw Fantastic Four today. Tell me what you think. I'm about to get there in like a couple movies. Um, but yeah, okay. I enjoyed this one. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go right above Multiverse of Madness. I do understand people's complaints with it. I do understand why some people wouldn't like it, but and I do have like things I don't like about it. I do think Giancarlo Esposito is another actor they kind of waste in this franchise. But as is now, I did really enjoy it. I just didn't like the last 15 minutes with all the CGI, and I do think there are some plot holes. So that's it. Hello, Van Cos. Okay. Next up, we have Thunderbolts. This is a very interesting film because it actually like solves a lot of my issues with the MCU at this point. There's a lot of practical effects here. Like you could tell they shot on real sets. They actually blew up buildings. They blew up a truck and made it flip. there's a lot of practical effects here, which I really enjoyed. A lot less CGI. I did like the way it's directed. I like that the last 30 minutes of the film is very visually trippy and actually goes into like the characters a little bit more. Bob as a character is one of like the better characters. I actually like all these characters. I like the group dynamic they introduce here. I do really wish we get a sequel with these characters. Um, and also like when they're like going into the void and all, you go. It's you could tell that was all made practically, which was really cool, but also very visually trippy how they did that. Really cool directing there. I think Jake Snyder, whatever his name is, the director of this is making X-Men. I think he's gonna do a really good job of X-Men. Um, so yeah, good practical effects. Some emotional scenes that are not undercut by jokes. Actually builds on the characters. There's a lot of great things about this film, and honestly, maybe my favorite MCU film since Deadpool and Wolverine. With that said, though, I do think the humor isn't that funny. Like it tries to be funny a lot of times. I'm not saying the humor is completely pointless because it does add to the chemistry between the group, the banter. I do really enjoy that, but I just don't think it was that funny. I never really laughed while watching Thunderbolts. And it kind of like detracted from the film. It's kind of jarring when you have this film about depression and it's a very serious film and just added a lot of jokes in it. That just wasn't funny. If it was funnier, I would have liked it. I just didn't find it that funny. Again, a lot of the same MCU humor. Everything else about it, I really enjoyed. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go right below Civil War, I think, or right below Iron Man, right above Guardians of the Galaxy. That seems right. And finally, we have the film you've been waiting for. I'm really hungry. One second. Mm. I've been talking a lot, so I need the energy. Okay, Fantastic Four. I really love this film. I'm not gonna lie, this was a great film. Um, and honestly, maybe my favorite since Endgame. I love that it takes place in a different universe. You do not need to watch any of the previous MCU films to watch this one. It's a completely different world, a different universe. There's no connectivity, so you don't have to watch like WandaVision or Falcon and Winter Soldier to understand it. You don't even have to watch any MCU films. You could just like go right into this and you'll just follow along. I love that. I wish I wish more of the films in the multiverse saga took place in other universes. Like um I don't know, just any of those films. It does really create like a very good original story. I do love like the cast here. I had my doubts about this cast, but all of them did good. Pedro Pascal was really interesting as Reed Richards as this guy who's like really smart but also really vulnerable and really scared for his world and scared for his baby. And as a father, you kind of see him like talk to his baby. Yeah, I really like what they did with his character. Um, I think everyone was great, especially Vanessa Kirby. She really like brings some of the acting chops into there. And Pedro Pascal, when spoiler alert, when the Invisible Woman dies and Pedro Pascal is crying, that's like really good acting right there. I do think out of the four members, I feel like the Thing is kind of sidelined. I feel like the Thing just could have done more, especially when they like introduce this romantic interest, this love interest, and they don't do anything with that. I feel like you could have just done more. Um, with that said, though, what's his name? Okay. Well, first of all, like the guy who plays the Thing did a good job. I actually do like the Thing as a character, even if he was sidelined. I still think he just added to the story, so I'm glad he's in it. I what shit? What's his name? Who plays Johnny Storm? Johnny Rockets. No, whoever plays the Human Torch. I'm gonna have to look this shit up. Okay, let's look it up. I forgot his name. Can't believe this. Joseph Quinn. Joseph Quinn did a great job as a Human Torch. He was my favorite character in the movie. The way he was like flirting with what's his name, Silver Surfer. Like he's such a good comedic relief. without like detracting from the film. Again, this is once again like Thunderbolts and Brave New World, a film that takes itself seriously, where it has like humor that does not detract from the emotional moments. It has some humor, and I actually really like the humor, which is why I liked it more than Thunderbolts, because there's actually funny stuff in this, a lot of funny jokes that made me laugh, but you still really felt the stakes. Oh, and the stakes. I mean, Galactus is one of the most threatening villains in this franchise since Thanos. A really threatening villain. That scene where like in space and they're running away from the Silver Surfer, and you see the Silver Surfer almost like tear the baby out of her chest. That was an intense sequence. Like I really, really, really enjoyed that. Very interstellar, like with the visuals too. Um, yeah, a very high stakes film. You definitely feel like the world is in danger, and because it's not set in the MCU, because it's like a completely different world, you actually like believe that the world might be in danger, that the world may actually be destroyed. I was fully expecting their world to be destroyed at the end, um, but it wasn't, which was great because I actually want to see more of this world. I love the 1960s retroistic but also futuristic world they introduced here, how people interact in that world. Mole Man, they just add so much history in this world we've never seen before. More history than like most other franchises do in their one film. I love the movie. Me too, man. I think the movie 100% focused on Reed and Sue. Yes, that's true, and I really like that because, as far as I'm concerned, Reed Richards and Sue Storm were like the most interesting parts of this movie, especially when it's about their child being the reason that Galactus is going to destroy the world. It makes sense that most of it is about them, and I do think that the Human Torch and the Thing do add to the movie. They do add to the group dynamic. I really love the group dynamic between them. They're all great characters and how they played off each other. There was great chemistry there. It was a nice contract to Earth 616. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's really good. Again, as I said with the first Avenger, I love the 1940s angle there. I really like the 1960s angle. And I honestly wish they keep this world alive. I know it's probably going to be destroyed in Secret Wars, and the Fantastic Four is going to be introduced to the MCU. Honestly, like a standalone trilogy with the Fantastic Four in their own world, I would really love that. I would really love to see that. Um, and again, like stakes wise, you feel the stakes. There's not a lot of action in this movie. It's mostly talking about how they're gonna defeat Galactus. I found it all riveting. One second, my mom is calling. I'll be. Give me a second. Hello. Okay, I'm just figuring out this microphone. I learned how to mute it. Anyways, I'm gonna wrap this up really soon. So to conclude my thoughts, I thought it visually looked good. Matt Shankman, same guy who made WandaVision. You kind of get that feeling from this film. I love the way it was made. I love the stakes. All the characters were well built upon. I love the world they introduced. Oh, Michael Giacchino's score is goddamn amazing. That's another thing about Brave New World and Thunderbolts. They're really stepping up their scores. Like, actually listen to Thunderbolt's score for a second, like, especially at the ending where they're saving all the people. It's really impactful, especially this one. Very, very, very memorable score. Like, people are going to remember this. Maybe Fantastic Four is nominated for score at the Oscars. Who knows? I know the Oscars don't really like superhero movies. Maybe. I'd actually put money on it. I thought Johnny stole the movie, but Pedro did awesome. They all did. Yeah, I think they're like individual moments where every character stole the movie, but especially Johnny Storm. He was definitely the most funniest one. Herbie to defeat Doctor Doom by himself. Yeah, Herbie was a great robot actually. Kind of like R2D2 esque. I like the way he talks and his design. Really cool, interesting robot. Um, Shit, I'm gonna put this above Deadpool Wolverine. I wouldn't say it's exactly S tier. I want to put it up there, but it's definitely like a really good film. And like Thunderbolts, it actually like gets me excited for Doomsday. Like they actually made me care about characters in the last two films before Doomsday, so I'm actually excited to see all these people interact, see what the Russell Bros are cooking, if they're able to cook, because I heard the script isn't finished, and the Electric State and the Gray Man was pretty ass, but let's see if the Russo brothers does a good job. S tier for you. Honestly, on rewatch, this may go up to S tier. But as is now, this is my ranking. For some reason, Werewolf by Night is not on here, but that would definitely go like middle B tier. Really like how Michael G. Connell. Oh yeah, Michael G. Connell directed that. I guess Michael G. Connell is a big MCU guy. The more you chew on it, the better it gets. The more I think about it, the better it gets. Yeah. But anyways, that's my ranking. I'm sorry that I'm ending the stream as like you two guys are just started watching. Sorry about that. But if you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe. I'd be willing to make more of this. Maybe a Squid Game video or something. I don't know. But yeah, I've been thinking of stepping away from Fortnite live streams and doing more where I talk about movies. So tell me if you enjoyed that, and thanks for watching. I'm gonna go take a nap or continue watching Breaking Bad. I'm actually rewatching that right now, or The Sopranos season one. Watching two shows right now, and stay cool. All right, thanks for watching. Have a good day.